Stretford Ends. We're going to be talking about the greatest ever United players. I'm joined by Gavin this afternoon. Gavin, how are you? Okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, yourself.
Yeah, not too bad. So, greatest ever United players. Obviously, there's probably too many to go through. But I'm going to pick 10 of my of the best players I think that I've played for United. And obviously, you can go through your list. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll start with Sir Bobby Charlton. Obviously, me or you never saw him play, but I've seen footage of him playing. What he did, to survive Munich and then come back and win the European Cup and the ambassador role he's held for the club. And up until Wayne Rooney, who I'm sure will be on you and my list. Up until that, he was our record goal scorer. But Sir Bobby Charlton for me is one of them. What about you? Who's your first pick?
Okay, so my first pick, I'm going to go with Eric Cantona.
Yeah. He's up there for me as well. What's the reason you've picked him?
His overall performances, his goals, the impact he'd have on the United team. Obviously, I think the less we talk about that karate kick, the better. But he was just an outstanding player.
Well, he says that was one of his greatest moments, and the only thing he regrets was not kicking him harder. So it's. I think you've got to look with Cantona when he come back after that kung fu kick, and the class of '92 was starting to come through. And that kind of season, he came back in the October against Liverpool. I remember being at Old Trafford for his comeback game with my dad. And he came back, and then from there, then he just single-handedly went on like a crusade just to win the title on his own, didn't he? I don't know if you remember it, but we played Newcastle in the January, and the Newcastle were 12 points clear in the January. And I think we played Newcastle in the December and in the March, and he scored against Newcastle in the March. But I think there was a period of games where we won 6 or 7 games on the spin 1-0, or they were close run games, and he scored in every game. And then obviously he completed it then by winning the double, then didn't he, and scoring against Liverpool in the final. And then the year later, then he walked away from football. But Cantona's got to be up there. I agree with everything you said, about Cantona. You can't not have him in a top 20 of United all-time greatest players. My next pick is probably going to be David Beckham. As a kid, growing up, I kind of idolised him. I still look at him now, as a human being more than anything now. And what he's done. But as a youngster coming through, I remember seeing him make his debut against Galatasaray in the Champions League. His goal against Wimbledon from the halfway line. The way he come back after France 98, when there were fans hanging effigies of him up and wanted him, the club stuck by him. Sir Alex stuck by him, and I think that I've always said that I think that if he hadn't met Victoria Beckham and fallen down that kind of path that he went on the lifestyle, I think he would have ended his career at United, because I think he broke his heart when he left United and he went to Real Madrid. But I think he would have stayed there, and I think that he would have had something to do there. I have read reports that if the Saudi Arabian takeover goes ahead, I've read reports that this Sheikh Jassim wants to have David Beckham in a role in the club. I don't know what kind of role it would be. I don't know if there's any truth in that rumour, but I've read a report that he wants Beckham to be involved with the club in some way, whether or not that's with the youth team, the reserve team, whether or not it's an ambassador role. But I think that And I mean, you've only got to watch like Beckham do interviews now, and like he still calls Sir Alex the boss. He doesn't call him anything else. He doesn't say Alex Ferguson. He calls him the boss or the gaffer or Sir Alex. He's very kind of respectful to him, even though there was the incident with the boot. But David Beckham's got to be up there for me. So I mean, I've gone two midfielders so far in Bobby Charlton and David Beckham. And coincidentally enough, Bobby Charlton was David Beckham's idol growing up. So you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about Becks, but Becks have got to be up there for me. I mean, iconic. You know, the two numbers. He wore 23, I think, when he first started, and then he wore number 10, and then he wore number 7. But I mean, he's worn two iconic shirt numbers for United as well.
Yeah, I mean, we both grew up watching David Beckham, and I don't think when you go back to all those years ago, I don't think there was a player better than Beckham in the league at the time.
I mean, I watched him in the Legends game against Bayern Munich. I think it was. It was a game against Bayern Munich Legends, and he was pinging the ball round better than our first team players at the time. He was like, you give him the ball, he was like just spraying 50, 60-yard passes, and they would just land in, you know, to feet. Like you could probably put a 50-pence piece on the floor, and Beckham could probably hit the ball and it'd land on the 50-pence piece. That's how good he was, and his delivery was like, I mean, you imagine, you know, Beckham's delivery, you know, supplying someone like Haaland on a weekly basis, like. It's just, and his free kick technique and the way he could hit the ball, and he wasn't a tackler. He couldn't, you know, he didn't have much pace about him. You know, he could beat the man, but you know, it was his ball skills and his passing ability.
Yeah, again, you know, I think David Beckham is going to be one of those. Everything you just explained, I agree with. He's got to be up there as one of the greatest of United players. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of United fans who agree with that. So my next one, I'm going to go with Keano.
Yeah. Which you start.
One of probably one. He's got to be up. He's got to be up there as one of the best midfielders the league has ever seen. I still remember the instance with him in Pacted Vieira and Tunnel, build up towards the Arsenal game when Keano was having a go at him.
Yeah.
He was never scared up on a tackling. No, he'd make sure he'd have a go. He'd have a go at the players if they weren't putting in the shift in. And I tell you something now, if he was still playing now, I think a lot of these United players wouldn't
have lasted 5 minutes.
Pardon?
They wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes with him.
Oh, no. Of course they wouldn't. No, because he would have gone straight and told them how it is.
Yeah, he probably would have been added for bullying as well, or, you know, the way he can be sometimes. I mean, to be honest with you, as a pundit, I went through a period of time where I thought he was very, very bitter towards Manchester United because of obviously how his career ended and things like that, and that came as a bit of a shock, you know, when his career ended. Obviously, you know, you had the incident with Haaland, where when we look back, you know, if it was terrible, like what he did, you know, and how he ended that man's career like this. You know, it was a really bad thing that happened, like, and you know, granted, Keane got injured against Haaland 18 months earlier, and you know he come back, but like he knew as soon as he did it, like he knew he was gone, like, and he walked off the pitch. I was gutted that he missed the Champions League final. I mean, you know, if we're talking about individual performances, I mean, the way he got us through that final. I mean, Gerrard done it in the FA Cup final for Liverpool against West Ham. They said he did it in the Champions League final when they come back from 3-0 down against Milan. But I mean, for me, Keane's best game in a United shirt was that game against Juventus, the semi-final when we were like 2-0 down and we come back to win 3-2. And he got booked really early on, and he knew he'd missed the final, but he just wanted to make it his mission to sort of like get us to the Nou Camp on his own, and he didn't care that like when he got booked, he just went, "Oh, it's done. you know, I got a job to do now, and he's getting these boys to the final, and he carried it his own. And for me, that was like his greatest ever game that I seen him play for us. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, and yeah.
My next pick now, I got to watch because he's another midfielder, but I've already given 2, so I'm going to try and come back to him. My next pick would probably be Edwin van der Sar. We signed him too late, but the career he gave us and what he gave us was unbelievable. I didn't think that we had a replacement for Peter Schmeichel, who I'm sure is going to be on you on my list somewhere. I didn't think we had a replacement for Peter Schmeichel up until we signed him. And then when we signed him, then I was sort of like, when he left, and I was like, how are we going to replace him? Because like he was just phenomenal. Like, it's just I wish we'd signed him a bit earlier. But, you know, he came in when he did, joined us from Fulham for a really small fee, I can remember. And he just, you know, he done wonders for us. He saved the penalties in the Champions League final. He was just up there, like.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, we signed him too late. And going back to what you said about not it took us so long to find a replacement for Peter Schmeichel. I think we should have signed Edwin van der Sar a lot sooner than we did, because he was a very good goalkeeper for us. Like you said, he made some really important saves at his time at United as well. So I agree that he definitely should be up there.
Fulham.
Pardon?
He left Ajax and then he went to Fulham, and we signed from Fulham. For me, like, we should have been really going all out for him before he'd gone to Fulham, and I think we would have that much longer to enjoy him. But hey, you know, we had a run. I mean, let's not forget, you know, Cantona signed in '93, and he retired in '97. So, you know, we only had 5 years or 4 years with Cantona. Do you know what I mean? So let's not forget the time that he gave us, you know, and let's remember it. And, you know, hopefully, he's doing bits at Ajax now as like director of football or something like that. So who knows? He might come back to the club under the new ownership. If it goes ahead, he might come back to the club in some capacity, and that'd be a great moment to see. But yeah, you know, for me, it's Van der Sar. What about you, next pick?
So my next one is Ronaldo.
From 2004, when we signed him, or 2003 when we signed him, I think it was, wasn't it? The first time. From then until he left the first time, yes. His first season back, yes. I agree with you, but it'll always be tarnished in my opinion, because like, if he,
there's always got, you know, there's going to have every fan who's just heard the name Ronaldo is going to have their opinion on why he's in the greatest United team.
Oh, listen, you can't. That period, that season between 2008 and him leaving, he was the best player in the world. You couldn't touch him. And that United team, that team was the best team in the world. You couldn't touch him. If it weren't for Barcelona, we would have had another 2 or 3 Champions Leagues. But for me, the only thing I'd say about Ronaldo is, like, I kind of wish, you know, like when he left this time now.
Yeah.
I weren't, like, when he left in 2009, I think it was it 2009 he left? I think it was, wasn't it?
2009, yeah.
Yeah, when he left in 2009, I was devastated, because he was the best player in the world at that point, and we lost him, and I was like, you can't replace him. But like, when he left this time, I was like, I was all right about it, and I think you were as well. I just kind of wish this all that, like, because he came back that first season, and he was brilliant for us. He got us out the Champions League group. you know, we were both buzzing when we signed him. We thought, oh, we're going to win the league. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But nothing came of it. And, you know, he got us out of the Champions League group. But I just kind of wish that he'd sort of like, under Ten Hag, I would have liked to have seen him sort of like not say nothing, not do that interview with Piers Morgan, not call out Ten Hag, not call out the club the way that he did. You know, he was going through a lot of personal issues. But I think that, like, if he kept his head down, you imagine now, right? We won the League Cup. We're on the verge of getting Champions League. We could win the Europa League and we could win the FA Cup, right? You imagine if he'd stayed with us, had another successful season, come back, got us in the Champions League. You know, we finished top 4. We won 3 trophies. He could have then said, I've completed football. I'm walking away from it. I've done everything I can. I can't do no more. I'm going to go out to Saudi Arabia. I'm going to go to America. I'm going back to Portugal. And I'm going to see out my career there. I think the fans would have respected him a lot more for that. But, like, for me, I lost a lot of respect for him when he done that interview with Piers Morgan, and I watched it back, and I was like, it wasn't as bad as they were making out and as Piers Morgan was making out, don't get me wrong. But, like, for me, I was just like, he didn't need to do that. He didn't need to come out and speak about the club in that way. Like, and for me, while he's been a legend, and, you know, he's done wonderful things for us and achieved wonderful things, that will always sort of like I was getting to the stage at the end, you know, with Ronaldo when he was on about, oh, is he going to leave? Is he not going to leave? I was just like, go. I just want him gone, and I want him out to the club. And, you know, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I know you got different feelings on Ronaldo of new, but like this, I don't know. But for me,
I certainly don't agree with the way that he reacted about not being played under Eric Ten Hag. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with him coming out and calling out some of the players and calling out Eric Ten Hag, because, like you said, that's not the way to go about it.
no.
But we all know, you know, what Ronaldo was like. He wanted to be this. He wanted to be the standout player. And I think when he could see Eric Ten Hag were bringing in other players and he was slowly being phrased out of the team, I think he was getting to him. I think he probably looks back and reflects on it and thinks, you know, why did I do that? Why did I say that? But it is too late. And like you said, you know, everyone's going to have their own opinion on Ronaldo. But I feel the reason he should be in as one of the greatest United players is because what he did at the club when Ferguson brought him into the club. Like you said, you know, last season he got us out of a lot of he dug us out of a lot of holes with the individual performances and goals that he scored.
Yeah. My turn now, innit?
Yeah.
How many have we done so far?
I'm on my 3rd. Well, that Ronaldo's my 3rd.
And I've done Beckham, Charlton, and Van der Sar. So this is my 4th. RVP, Robert Van Persie. I know he wasn't there for long, but again, what he did when he came in, won us the title single-handedly. And, you know, still, you know, the fans still chant his name now. Like, he's just phenomenal, like what he did. Again, wish we'd signed him sooner, but, you know, what he did. And to get that Guard of Honour of the Emirates as well, as champions, for him to walk out. And his old players have to clap him out. They just thought it was phenomenal. His goal against Villa to seal our 20th title. His hat-trick against Southampton. Just loads of different things. Like, he was brilliant. Like,
Yep, I totally agree. My next one, I'm going to go with Patrice Evra.
Yeah.
I think he's probably one of the best left backs I think the club has ever seen. And the thing that, you know,
and signed from nothing as well. Nobody knew about him when he came, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's ever heard about him.
And I think that one of the main things a lot of United fans will agree with you was the fact that he was racially abused by that piece of scum that played for the.
Suarez, yeah.
Yeah. but he kept going. He stayed professional.
He even tried to shake his hand. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Tried to shake his hand and say, "Look, it's forgotten," but you know. But
Yeah,
you
but
with like Uncle Pat, as they call him, you know, he just loves football, doesn't he? And like if you watch him on Instagram, like I love him on Instagram. He brightens up my day on Instagram because he comes out dancing. He loves this game. He shouts and you can see he just loves Man United. He's like, "What are you doing to me? You're hurting me. What are you doing to me?"
yeah, I mean, when you look at his overall play, you know, when he was tracking back and going forwards and creating chances when going forward, and I think defending as well, he was very good at it. And I was sad to see him go because I knew he was going to be one of those players who would be hard to replace.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. My next one is going to be Rio. Just solid at the back. I know he come from Leeds, but
30 million, was it? Something like that.
30 million, I think it was, when it's solid at the back, what he did. Granted, he had a bit of controversy when he missed the drugs test and had an 8-month ban, but again, that's just the FA, just, slapping extra on him. His goal against Liverpool, and he was just him and Vidic at the back were just like really solid and dependable. And captain as well, and he was. And again, gone through a lot in his personal life as well, and I still respect him now. Like, although he did say about Ole, give him a statue, sign the paper, and that was it. We all know what happened after that. So
I think there's a lot of people out there who respect Rio.
yeah.
He is just he's a genuinely nice, he's a genuinely decent person, and
yeah, no, I agree with him.
So my next one, I'm going to go with Paul Scholes. I mean, a fella couldn't tackle to save his life. I mean, I watched some of his when I was watching United when I was growing up, and you try and tackle and you bring him down and think, "Oh, I've got Scholes. What are you doing? You got to get yourself sent off here."
Yeah.
But him and Roy Keane in our midfield was just the opposition would be, it was scary for the opposition because they knew that they wouldn't get past either of them when they were both playing together. Am I right in thinking he suffered with asthma, didn't he?
Yeah.
He'd always put 100% in on the pitch. He'd play his part with assists and the goals he scored. And he again, same as Roy Keane. I think he's got to be up there with one of the best midfielders the league and around Europe has had. So I can't think of too many better than Paul Scholes.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Agree with you. Again, with him, he could hit the ball. He could pass the ball. Great finish on him. I remember some of his goals. His goal against Barca in 2008. His goal against Bradford, I think, his volley. His goal against Villa. Those are just 3 strikes that I remember him just like. I mean, the goal against Barca in 2008. I was there for that, and like I just never seen a man hit the ball so hard. But as soon as he left his foot, I knew it was in. Like, but again, I agree with him. He couldn't tackle, and he was a midfielder. He couldn't tackle, but he could pass the ball. And like, I mean, there's Liverpool fans that I know, like, and they like, Gerrard better than Scholes. I'm like, no, it's just stupid. I mean, story I remember Fergie saying about Paul Scholes is that after they played Inter Milan, the Inter Milan president went to see Fergie in the office, and he put a blank check on the desk, and he said, "Put your price on it for Paul Scholes." And Fergie handed it back to him, and he said, "I can't put nothing on it. He's priceless." It was Zidane said he's one of the best players he's ever played against.
Yeah.
Pirlo, I think, have said he's one of the best players he's played against. So when you got players like that saying that Paul Scholes is one of the greatest players they've ever played against, then it was something tells you that Liverpool fans are a little bit delusional. My next pick is going to be Brian Robson, Captain Marvel. I only caught the back end of his career. But I've seen footage of him when I was younger, and what a player for England and for us. If you haven't seen the documentary called Robbo, it's on Amazon Prime. I'd recommend you see it. It's a fantastic documentary. Just as an ambassador as well for the club, it's just like what he achieved as a captain. I remember the game against Barcelona, I think it was, in the Cup Winners' Cup. Who captained us to the first Premier League title in 26 years. And yet, although he had his injuries, you could always, he'd put his heart on the line, and he would wear his, he'd live and die in our United shirt. He'd die for the cause if he needed to.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not like yourself. I only caught him towards the back end of his career, but obviously, he was really good player for United, and he definitely deserves to be up there. My next one is Wayne Rooney.
Yeah,
he was
record goal scorer,
legend for the club. And I remember the day I was sitting there watching Match of the Day when he was 16 years old. He scored for Everton. He scored a fantastic goal. I was sitting there thinking, we need to sign him because he is going to be one of the best players. He's going to be one of the best. He's going to be the best player out there. And when we did sign him, obviously, like you said, he was a record goal scorer. He was never frightened to put a tackle in. I think that was the main. I think that was one of the main reasons he was given the captaincy at United as well. I think he's just one of those rare players that the league will probably never see again.
Oh yeah, because
of his attitude, his skill, the goals, his attitude, the way he loved football.
Yeah, his fight. He was just like he was playing on the street, bunny. He used to say that. He said, "I just feel like I'm playing with my mates." But I mean, I don't know about you, but for me with Rooney, again, it's a little bit tarnished. Because obviously there was the talk. He never left, obviously, but there was the talk when he went into Fergie's office and said, "Oh, you signing? I want to know what our plans are. Otherwise, I'm not signing a contract extension." And Fergie kind of said to him, "It's got with it in the nicest possible way. It's got nothing to do with who we signing." But he was ambitious and he wanted to win, and you could see that in him and that fight in him. But the fact that they say he sort of he asked to leave twice during his United career. For me, he didn't leave. He stayed with us. He stayed captain. He became a record goal scorer. And for that, it's I've still got a shirt here somewhere with Rooney number 10 on the back. And I'm sure you have somewhere probably. You've probably got one somewhere because he was an idol and an icon. But yeah, record goal scorer, still down in high regard. And just out and out superb. My next pick is Ryan Giggs. I know that's going to come with controversy after what he's done outside of football, but let's not take it away from the fact he started as a young 17-year-old. I always remember Sir Alex telling a story. I don't know if I think it's in the class of 92. Sir Alex is telling a story where they played Arsenal. United played Arsenal, and George Graham was in charge of Arsenal. And as you know, or you may not know, his name growing up was Ryan Wilson, because obviously his dad was from Cardiff, in Canton in Cardiff.
Yeah.
And his rugby league, and his name was Ryan Wilson. And George Graham said, whatever happened to that boy, he said, Ryan Wilson, who always used to bang on about. And Fergie said to George Graham, he played today. George Graham was like, I didn't see him on the team sheet. He said it was Ryan Giggs. And he went, bloody hell, he said. He said, never. And he said, yeah. But, it's just a funny story, that, George Graham didn't even know that, the player, and I mean, Giggs, come on. That goal in the semi-final, his goal against Juventus. It's just his goals. Giggs had everything, didn't he? He had the looks, he had the skill, he had the speed. He could take a man on, he could beat the man, he could cross the ball, he could finish. didn't score many headers, but you know he could put his head on the ball and score. You know, I think he went through a phase as well, didn't he, where he scored in like every Premier League season.
Yeah, he did.
Up until a certain point. And again, then you know, it's like for me, being a fan, like you know, since we were kids. I mean, I turned 40 last week. You were coming up to it as well soon, but I mean, for me, to see him come from a young boy to develop into the player he did, then to go into the coaching side of things with Louis van Gaal, and then after Louis van Gaal left, for him to take over as manager. I mean, the day that I seen him walk out as Manchester United manager, I kind of teared up a bit. Like, it made me feel a bit proud, because I was like, I've seen him grow from like a kid, you know, a scrawny little kid, into like this amazing player, and now he's like, granted it was only for 4 games, but like he's now managing my football club, like, and it's like I couldn't believe it. Like, I never thought I'd see him as a Manchester United manager, like, and granted it was only for like 4 games or 3 games, but it was just like, for me as a fan, it was like a proud moment, because like I'd seen him grow up and I'd seen him become what he became.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you said, you know, about the, you know, he used to. It's a shame, because the career he's had, and he does something, you know, he's done something really stupid, and he's ruined his career.
Anna, when you know, he'd always been known for like the one that shagged his brother's wife, like, you know what I mean, or the one that done that, or you know, the one that, you know, and it's like he had opportunity to manage Wales, and then there was a thing where like he's supposed to have, like, you know, it is his wife and things like that, which I hope is not true, but obviously he's got to stand trial for that, and he'll never manage Wales again. Do you know what I mean? It's like he could have taken Wales to the Euros. He could have, you know, done all that with them.
I think he would have, you know, I think he would have done really well at Wales, because it was the attitude and his love for football. You know,
yeah. No, but it's silly boy. But you know, again, it's like you can't, put in all our personal issues aside and his personal life aside. You know, one of the greatest players Premier League has ever seen, if not the greatest player. Well, not the greatest player, but you know, he's one of the greatest players the Premier League have ever seen. But who's your next pick?
David De Gea. The reason I'm picking De Gea is because he's broken Peter Schmeichel's clean sheet record.
Yeah.
When we signed him from Atletico Madrid, when he first came to United, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't sure about him at all. I thought, you know, have we made a mistake signing him?
I think he was a goalkeeper, because he was so scrawny and so thin, and you know, he was flappy, and you know, I didn't think, and then like he's obviously bulked out, and he's become a fantastic servant for us. And has he been here 10 years? He's been here 10 years, hasn't he?
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah.
Like I said, when we first signed him, I thought, I looked at him, like, he's not going to last. He's not going to last a season in the Premier League.
I agree with it.
He's going to go. But then, so you know, the season after, he, like you said, he looked stronger, and down the years is the amount of saves he's made for the club. The amount of, I think, without David De Gea, we would be in a lot. I think I'm sure you agree. We'd be in a position, you know, would be a lot worse without him.
Oh yeah, totally agree with it.
And I mean, you know, there are people out there who will criticise his distribution and the way that he handles certain situations.
I'll sort that out, and if he don't, we'll have a new keeper. Don't worry about that. Ten Hag will fix that.
Yeah, but
look at me talking like Ten Hag can fix everything. He's not doing a bad job, is he? Do you know what I mean? It's like he's fixing things bit by bit.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at some of the saves that David De Gea has made down the year,
yeah, just crucial. Like, you know, we've won countless points from his saves. Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he saved us in some really important games. Like I said, you know, without him at times, we would have finished a lot further down the table.
Yeah. My next pick, I've gone for RVP. I'm going to go for RVN Road Van Nistelrooy. Again, phenomenal. Gary Neville has done the overlap with him this week. It's well worth a watch. Just asking him like 25 questions. He's managing now. Feyenoord, I think he's managing. But again, like, you know, the way that he was coming and he got injured and Fergie waited for him and said, look, you know, we'll wait for you, we'll sign you. We want you to come. And then he came and he was just like, he's just phenomenal. Like, he was a proper, something what we need now, a goal scorer, an out-and-out goal scorer. Like, he would just get a goal from anywhere. I mean, you know, I remember the abuse he had for missing the penalty against Arsenal. And then he come back a year later and scored and we ended the 49-game unbeaten run. His goal against Fulham when he just run from the halfway line and he took it and he just run it. But he was just a phenomenal player, like.
Yeah, totally agree. My next one, I'm going to go with Solskjaer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a player.
As a player, obviously he wasn't known as a. He wasn't, you know, we all know that Solskjaer, he was never going to start ahead of the likes of Andy Cole and Dwight York. But I think you've got to agree that some, you know, the goals that he scored, I think he was one of those players that Ferguson felt he was one of those players, if he needed a goal, he could chuck Ollie on. And
well,
nine times out of 10, he would go and score you one.
He cost us 1.2 million from some Norwegian club. Nobody ever heard about him. I mean, he scored 2 in his first game.
Yeah.
Against Blackburn, he came off as a sub and scored 2. Yeah,
I mean, you know, he might not be up there with every United fan, but his attitude, like I said, you know, even though he didn't know he
had opportunity to go to Spurs. Spurs wanted him. Blackburn wanted him, I think, and he stayed with United. You know, and he done his coaching badges at United. He managed the under-21s. Managed us. Did okay for us as a manager up until we re-signed Ronaldo. And then everything just seemed to go a bit belly up for him, bless him. But broke my heart, I did, like, seeing him like that. It broke me, I did, seeing Ollie. Like, in his last interview with the club when he was, like, crying. That broke me, I did, like, because he seems... Like, I met him once. Like, I didn't get an autograph off him, but, like, he shook my hand once when I was at Old Trafford. And he's just such a nice man, like, and it was just, like, I wanted it to work for him so much. But I just think that Ronaldo was a Woodward signing. And it was, like, one of his last kind of things to try and say, oh, look, I've done this for you. As a club, I've done this for you. I don't think Ole wanted him. I think he was going to Man City. And then Fergie got on the phone and said, what are you doing? But, you know, it's interesting to see because, you know, let's not forget, as bad as people say he was as a manager, you know, they used to call him the PE teacher and things like that. He got us to second. You know, he took us to second.
Yeah.
We finished second under him. So, you know, listen, I hope whatever he's doing is thing, and I hope to see him back managing in the Premier League one day. Not us, sadly. I wouldn't want him anywhere near us anymore. But, you know, I'd like to see him have another crack at the whip, maybe Everton or something like that, you know, or back in the Premier League. But, yeah, totally agree with it. I always remember as well, he's the only player I think I know to come off the bench with 20 minutes to go and score 4 goals in a game.
Yeah.
He was always ready, and obviously we haven't even spoke about 99 when he scored, you know, the goal to secure the treble.
Yeah, no, that's why he's going to be remembered of. That's what he's remembered of. That goal he scored in 1999.
Yeah, I said to you, you know, when he was made manager, I remember me and you having a conversation, and I said to you, I said if he hadn't have done what he did at United and won the treble, he would have been nowhere near that job. They wouldn't have even considered him for it. The only reason he got it was because the fact that the board had tried, a really good manager. They tried David Moyes, didn't work. They tried Louis van Gaal, didn't work. They tried Jose, serial winners, didn't work. So they thought, we'll go with the club legend.
Yeah.
Speaking of club legends, my next pick, Michael Carrick. A lot of people, that'll come as a bit of controversy because a lot of people not fans of Carrick. For me, he was phenomenal again. His work ethic, his desire to win for the club, his performances he put in for the club. Doing a fantastic job now as Middlesbrough manager. But again, Michael Carrick for me is up there as one of the best players to play for us.
Yep, I totally agree. And with Carrick, in a way, he did remind me of Paul Scholes.
Yeah.
Because he played really.
Yeah. Who's your next one?
So my last one, this is a difficult one, this is. So my last one is Vidic. I think
I loved him. Brilliant player.
And I think every United fan did love him. I still remember watching his farewell speech at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And you could see the emotion in his, you could see how emotional he was getting, because he could tell he was loved by the football club. He was just he was an outstanding centre back. I think he made out, the time he spent, the amount of years he spent at United, he made that defence a lot stronger.
Well, him and Ferdinand were like the best centre backs in the league.
Oh yeah, of course they were. Yeah, I was just going to mention that him and Rio in our centre back. It reminds me of the partnership that Rio and Vidic is like the partnership we got at the moment with Varane and Martinez.
And it reminded me of Bruce and Pallister as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vidic was like, he was a warrior when he.
Oh yeah, he was.
Maybe it was their debut that done it for him, like, because they both come on when we were like losing to Man City, and I remember Evra come on and did he get taken off? Did he come on and then he got took off? But I know him and Vidic had a torrid time in their debut against Man City because we were losing, and I think they brought Evra on like half time and they told him a new one, like him and Vidic, and I was just like, oh my god, that's a hell of a game to be brought in on your debut, like for Manchester United in the first team.
Yeah, but he was strong on the air. He was a very intelligent player. I think he was one of those rare defenders that could always sense danger before he was coming, and he knew to be at the time.
He was a brilliant defender, but he could never stop Torres, could he, when he played us?
No. Let's not mention that.
No. So how many have we got left now?
I've done all mine.
You've done 10?
Yeah.
So have we done all together? We've done... Because I haven't written it down. I don't know if you've got it written down. I haven't written it down. I've probably got one more as well then, have I?
Yeah, you probably have.
Yeah, so one more. My God, there's loads we missed out as well, like. Bruce, Pallister, Schmeichel.
Oh yeah,
Andy Cole, Dwight York. There's more. There's 5 there. Like we missed out. Kanchelskis, Lee Sharp, Mark Hughes. Bloody hell. Henrik Larsson. Do you know what I mean? It's like. Did you say Andy Cole? No.
No.
No. I'll go Andy Cole. Signed from Newcastle for $7 million. Done really well. That partnership with Dwight Yorke was phenomenal. I was watching an interview with Andy Cole for Stephen Howson, and somebody else have interviewed him for their fan channel. And he tells a story where when we signed him, he said to Fergie, like, I'll go to the hotel and meet him. I'll take him round. I'll show him Manchester. I'll show him a few places. And he said most people, he said, would have been like, oh, he's come to take my space. He said, but I just wanted him. I wanted him to get, used to Manchester, and so we could perform a partnership together. And I just thought that when I read that about him, like, I just thought that's phenomenal. Like, because Dwight Yorke was coming and potentially taking his place, but Andy Cole just didn't. He's like, no, I'm going to show him the sights. I'm going to show him around. I'm going to pick him up for training till he gets thing. And they formed this friendship like that. They've still gone out. So that is that completed. I think what we need to do now is you send me a list of you players. I'll ping in a message to you, my players. We've then got to try and put them in order, I think. And we'll maybe do another video where we break them down into like rankings.
Yeah, so if you leave your comments in the comment box below, I think what me and Gavin will do the next one is rank them from 20 down to the best ever United player.
And
like
players that we've missed, which
yeah, I can think of at least 7 right off the top of my head now, and I'm thinking, yeah, they should be in there definitely.
Well, I just reeled out 5 before Andy Cole, so.
But obviously, I'm sure there's going to be United fans out there who agree with the reasons why we've chose the players.
Again, if people want to comment on other ideas that we can do, then we'd open to any ideas to do videos like this.
Yep. So make sure you leave your comments in the comment box below. So, like I say, if you let us know who you think should be in the top 20, who you think there should be in the top 20. And me and Gavin will do another show where we'll rank them from number 20 down up to number 1. So thanks for joining this afternoon, Gavin.
No worries, it's been a pleasure.
Much appreciated, as always. And thank you all for watching. We will speak to you soon. Cheers, Gav.
Ciao, mate.